Hello and welcome. So today we're talking about a flower you've probably seen a million times, the bright, cheerful zinnia. You know, it's a staple in just about every summer garden. But this very familiar flower has a surprisingly complex life and a story that is, and I mean this literally, out of this world. Let's dig into the cosmic secrets of this common garden flower.
Right? You've seen them adding that amazing splash of color to flower beds, to parks, everywhere. But behind that beauty, there's a world of super clever biology, a globe-trotting history, and even a role in space exploration. So what is the real story behind this seemingly simple flower?
All right, first things first, let's get properly introduced to the zinnia and find out exactly where it comes from.
So, the zinnia is part of the Asteraceae family, which makes it a cousin to daisies and sunflowers. It's a true American native, originally from the grasslands of the Americas, with Mexico basically being its heartland. It got its name as a nod to a German scientist, Johann Gottfried Zinn. And they come in a huge range of sizes, from just 4 inches tall to over 3 feet.
Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. When you look at a zinnia, you're actually not seeing what you think you're seeing. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at its anatomy.
So, get this. What looks like one big, single flower is actually a super dense cluster of hundreds of much smaller individual flowers. We call them florets. It's a totally brilliant evolutionary strategy.
This whole structure is called a composite flower. The big, colorful parts on the outside, the things we usually call petals, those are actually individual flowers called ray florets. Their main job is to be the big, flashy advertisement for pollinators. Then, in the middle, you have the disc florets. That dense, packed center is where the real magic of reproduction is happening.
And if we get even closer and look at just those tiny disc florets, we find something truly ingenious. They use this fascinating two-stage mechanism to make sure they get pollinated. It's a process known as secondary pollen presentation.
Here's how it works. It's so cool. First, as the little floret opens, a part called the style basically acts like a tiny plunger, and it pushes its own pollen up and out for insects to come and grab. That's step one. Then, once all that pollen has been carried away, the style splits into 2 branches and becomes receptive, ready to accept pollen from a different flower. It's an amazing little system designed to promote cross-pollination.
So, this clever design, plus the bright colors and all that nectar, makes the zinnia an absolute magnet for pollinators. It pretty much rolls out the welcome mat for the entire garden.
See, the nectar is stored way down deep inside those little florets, which makes it the perfect meal for visitors with long tongues, like this incredible hummingbird hawk moth.
And of course, butterflies, oh man, they absolutely adore zinnias. We're talking peacock butterflies, monarchs, they all flock to them. Zinnias provide a really reliable and plentiful source of food, which makes them a super important part of the local ecosystem.
And this is exactly why you'll always hear gardeners talking about planting zinnias if you want a butterfly garden. They're not just beautiful, they're incredibly functional. They are actively drawing in these important and absolutely stunning insects.
Okay, so we know it's a native of the Americas, but how in the world did this wildflower become such a global garden celebrity? Well, its journey is a great story of botanical exploration.
The first zinnia species showed up in Europe way back in the early 1700s. But it was Zinnia elegans that really took off around 1790. Then it came a huge leap forward in 1858, when these double-flowering varieties, the ones with the dense, multi-layered petals, arrived from India. By 1960, we had the very first commercial hybrid, and that really cemented its place in gardens everywhere. During its rise in popularity, the zinnia even got its own meaning in the Victorian language of flowers. It came to symbolize thinking of absent friends, which is just a really lovely sentiment, isn't it?
We've seen its clever biology and its trip around the world, but the zinnia's story doesn't stop there, not even close. In fact, its most incredible chapter takes it far, far away from Earth.
And it's not just a world traveler. The zinnia is also a surprisingly hard worker in the garden. For one, its petals are edible. A little bitter maybe, but you can use them as a garnish. It also acts as a great companion plant by attracting hummingbirds that then help protect other plants from pests. It's a true multitasker.
But all of that, it just pales in comparison to its most pioneering adventure.
This flower's toughness and adaptability were put to the ultimate test back in 2016. Aboard the International Space Station, astronauts successfully grew a zinnia, making it the very first flower to germinate, grow, and blossom in a microgravity environment. Just think about that.
Now, this wasn't just for a pretty photo. It was a hugely important experiment.
It proved that complex plants could actually complete their entire life cycle in space, and that is a vital step for any future long-duration missions where growing food is going to be absolutely essential. The humble Zinnia became a pioneer for astrobotany. So, from a wildflower in Mexico to a complex biological machine, a global garden favorite, and finally, a space pioneer, the Zinnia proves that sometimes the most extraordinary stories belong to the things we see every single day. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other wonders are out there hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to notice?